How did Mr. Casper get started on the historical part of Louisville?
Well, after we bought this place, our son bought the Clara place, which he was the first person outside the family to own any of the Clara land. And there was an old house on his property, and it had a bunch of papers scattered all over the floors where the people had left. And he started picking up papers and reading, looking. And he got interested in it, so he got boxes and gathered up all their garbage over there and brought it home and started reading and looking at it, and he became fascinated by it. And from that he thought, somebody needs to tell this story.
Did Mr. Casper contact anybody that was originally with the Bowen family?
Yeah, actually we bought the place from a man that was a sibling down the line of the Bowen family. In fact, the land from here to Bowen's Mill belonged in the Bowen's family, and we were the first people to own the land outside the family. So we had some information that he had, but living here, and then he had a sister that had a good bit of information that we got, and then he started buying books of the early Fitzgerald and pre-Fitzgerald, before Fitzgerald became Fitzgerald. And that's when he started getting interested in Lulaville. And they jokingly called him the mayor of Lulaville, because we were the family out here. Which now I guess Danny Nelms is the mayor of Lulaville, because he owns the land where Lulaville actually was, the little town actually was. But we did, he had some of his cousins that do online stuff from the archives to go in and see what they could find on Louisville, and he just got really excited about how important Louisville was to Fitzgerald.
I know y'all have the railroad bed here on the property. Was there anything else left from the town of Louisville when y'all first moved out here, or was it all gone?
Well, everything was gone except a pile of brick where a foundation had been. They had torn up most of that, but that was the only visible part of Louisville when we moved here. We were, and I think you've got some pictures of
Yes, ma'am.
What was here at the time, the hotel and box factory, and not a lot of people, but that was early years of the work here.
Did you help Mr. Casper at all in any of his findings, or was it strictly all his project?
Well, we've always worked together. Everything one was into, if it was baseball or if it was Louisville, we were in it together. For 58 years, we were in it together. For 57 years, we were in it together. And we worked together, and I would help him with the writing and the gathering and organizing. He's not a great organizer. But that was about the only way, because he wanted it done his way. So that's what we did it. And he did a good job. He just wasn't able to complete it because of the marker. He wanted to put a marker. He even offered to give the county the land in front of the house because it has a good drive-off place that people could drive off the road and look at the marker, and it would let them know that Louisville was here. It wasn't a figment of our imagination. And it would be part of the history, and how they would also know how important Louisville was to the establishment of Fitzgerald.
How many years did he spend on the project alone?
Probably 10 years.
It's a long time.
Well, he's a bird dog. He doesn't give up. But he did. Once he gets started on something, he doesn't let go until he goes as far as he can, until he finishes it or comes to a dead end that he can't go forward.
Did he travel to do any of the research, or did he do it all from home here?
Basically, we did go over to Abbeville and to get a history book from the courthouse there that had information in that we need. But that's all the travel we did, because actually Louisville was here, and all we had to do was find out Well, because at one time this was Wilcox County. And we got the Irvin County book, history book, but it was not in that. So we went to Wilcox County and we did find some materials there.
When y'all bought the property, was it just, I know they said that Lulaville only stretched so far, and where Mr. Danny Nelm's property is now, was that just it, or was there some out in this area too?
Well, it came to the railroad, basically. Until the railroad came in, they had to take a mule and wagon and go to Abbeville and meet the boats. They brought merchandise in on boats into Louisville on little steamboats and little paddle boat barges, they call them. And they would go there and get their merchandise to bring here for that. And somehow, and you may have the history on that, how the railroad started and a spur came off from Abbeville to Louisville. But that's as far as it went. So the people then from Fitzgerald, from the colony that was developing, had to come to Louisville to do their shopping.
Oh, wow.
They had the, what they call a general store here. It sold cloth for clothing and groceries and oil, kerosene for lamps, because then we didn't have electric lights. And they had to have kerosene for their lamps, for their lights.
In his process, did Mr. Casper ever get in contact? I know he had talked to the Georgia Historical Society. Was he ever able to go down there and do meetings? I know he had a meeting here with the Board of Commission. Did he ever go further with that? I know one's out of Savannah. I know there's
no, he did not go. He corresponded with them a lot, but he never got any encouragement because they said unless we had something, a building or something substantial that people could look at here, that they couldn't just do every little crossroad. But they did send him a list of where he could buy some markers, have some made.
Did he ever pursue that?
And they were kind of pricey. And we didn't pursue that. He was thinking about that, but he said he would have to give it to the county if he bought it.
Right.
It would not be his property. It would be.
Did the county ever support him when he first started this project, or?
Not really. They were interested to a point, but they said, "Oh, we've got the Blue and Gray Museum," and he said, "But that's not on site."
Right.
He even wanted to put a piece of track, railroad track, and buy a car of some sort, a piece of train, and put on it down there as a marker for Louisville, because that was the only visible thing. He said, "We got the train bed," but they had taken up all the track and everything. But that land still belongs to the railroad company.
Oh, really?
So when it's bought, the land's bought and sold, we own this side, Danny owns that side, and the railroad company owns so many feet right through the middle.
What was Mr. Casper's biggest goal with not only the historical marker? I know he wanted that. Was it to just raise awareness that at one time this was a starting point for what Swan now became, which now is Fitzgerald, had become?
That was it. He just wanted people to know that this little town was important. That it was actually a town. It was a trading post. It was the center of the activities. Because they had a hotel. People that came in on the train, they could come this far on the train and then either buy or rent a mule and wagon or horse and buggy to go on into what was then Shacktown, really. They had put up little shacks, slab shacks. But then they still had to drive back to Louisville to buy their groceries and everything because there was no merchandise in Fitzgerald per se. And if they came in late on the train, they could live at the hotel. There was a 3-story hotel. And it was just so amazing to me because they had a box factory that they built boxes that people could buy to haul stuff in. they had industry here. They had a turpentine still because all this was trees. Actually, this was a cow pasture and pine trees. But yeah, there was on further out. There were some farms because they grew grain. They had a grist mill that they could make their meal and grits. They had fresh meal and fresh grits to eat. And of course, they grew and raised most of their food. They raised livestock for meat, chickens for meat and eggs. They had cows for their cream and butter and milk. They had to be self-supporting because there was not a lot of money and there was not a lot available then, because we were too far away from the main lines. There were no through railroad tracks from the cities or from the areas that you could get more produce than they grew.
I just got one last final question. I know you said that y'all did it as a project together, that y'all did everything together. As if we could get it enough support behind it, would you be willing to let me help you get a marker placed out here?
Yes.
That's all I need, babe.